Boruto episode 256 review. The title of this episode is The Ultimate Recipe. So starting off, Team 7 is back in the village and we see them snacking on their favorite, Thunderburger. Also, we see that they're there with Team 10, and this reminds me of back in the day when Team 7 used to come back from a mission and the place to eat would be Ichiraku Ramen. Oh, how the times have changed. It's here we find out that Shikadai has gone on a mission and with another squad as well, while Inojin and Chocho are on standby. And we see here where the two feel like they're slowing Shikadai down, and I do understand how they feel. Luckily, they have an amazing friend like Shikadai, as we then see him pop up telling them that he has a mission for them. And these small things are what I like about Shikadai's character. Also, he does remind me of Shikamaru. Of course, specifically the moment in Naruto Shippuden when he refused to leave Ino and Choji to work with the future Lord. Like father, like son, I guess. So we find out that the mission is for them to capture a rogue shinobi who has entered the Leaf and is procuring weapons. We also find out that they will be undertaking the mission, of course, by themselves, which I think is kinda good for their character development. We then see Chocho and Inojin tracking down the man, taking him down like child's play. As they do this, we find out that the Leaf totally messed up, as the rogue ninja they were sent to capture had been pardoned by his village for some time, but because the data systems were not updated, we see this mess. We also find out that Mr. Jingo, which is the name of the rogue ninja, is a chef who has his own ramen place, and he invites Inojin and Chocho to eat. As they're going to the ramen shop, we see some bandits who are running from Shikadai and his boys, and they run into Mr. Jingo, and of course the device that the bandits use to steal the data is the same as Mr. Jingo's, and we see that the bandit accidentally drops and picks up the wrong item. We get to the ramen shop and we see that there are 0 customers. Talk about things being slow. We also find out that the reason he created his shop was because, of course, he was treated to ramen by the old man at Ichiraku Ramen. And I mean, how could you talk about ramen and not mention Ichiraku Ramen? Also, we find out that a food inspector is coming, and this guy has to cook up something good by the next day. So, being the great stalwarts that Inojin and Chocho are, they decide to help Mr. Jingo make a good ramen. It's also during this time that the bandits find out that they have taken out the wrong item and are now getting ready to go and trash Mr. Jingo's ramen shop. We then see the ramen adventures of Mr. Jingo, Inojin, and Chocho. We see that after all that hunting for ingredients, Mr. Jingo produces a very good looking ramen, but something is missing, and I think, to me, it was the sauce or whatever the bandits took. Mr. Jingo and Team 10 then close up shop, or they go for a walk, and while they're walking, Mr. Jingo realizes that he left his wallet and heads back to the shop for it. As Mr. Jingo gets back to the shop, he runs into one of the bandits as he has come looking for what he lost, and we see that Mr. Jingo gets it. One thing during this moment that stood out to me was when Inojin and Chocho were waiting on Mr. Jingo, and we see Inojin sense that something has happened, and the way that it was shown in the anime, the scene almost seemed like Inojin sensed it using his sensory ability. Also, I have to say, I think the way Inojin used his birds to sense where Mr. Jingo was is a really cool move. What is wrong with me? As the bandits carries Mr. Jingo to his hideout, we see that Shikadai and his team has the place surrounded. We then see Mr. Jingo getting his butt whooped, but not for long, as Team 10 and reinforcements step in. We then get back to ramen making, and it's around this time that Shikadai appears and finds out that the device that he was looking for is actually being used by Chocho to make her food taste better. It's also during this time that Mr. Jingo spots one of Chocho's bag of chips, leading him to find out what his ramen is missing. We basically see this guy crush up some chips and put in his ramen. Of course, each ramen has different flavors adding to the ramen, and everyone was like amazing. We see that it's so good that customers are pouring in like flies. Also, this made me think that hey, Ichiraku Ramen now has competition. Also, where the hell is Naruto? We need to see what he thinks, and more importantly, what the old man and Ichiraku Ramen thinks. Overall, I thought this was an alright episode. Looking forward to see what happens in the next. But that's all I had to say. Thanks for watching.